It is a journey of giving yourself the grace and allowing yourself to continue to evolve. It's not something that just happened for me overnight.
So first of all, everybody rewind that and know that that's a tool that you can literally use.
You are wearing a bulletproof vest and nobody here has a gun. As long as you decide to keep wearing that vest, you will never have an experience.
Welcome back to I Am with Jenna Phillips Ballard. My next guest is someone who has taken an unconventional path. If you took a Canadian hockey player, handed her a mic, and gave her a mission driven by God to build a global brand from scratch, you would get Cassandra Britton. Cassandra is the founder of The Business Savage, a global keynote speaker, executive performance coach, and the creator of the Performance Paradox, a framework built on one truth. Extraordinary performance is not built in either, it is built in the and. A former competitive athlete turned multi-seven-figure entrepreneur at 19, she now works with executives, founders, and high performers to own their voice, expand their capacity, and become who they were built to be, while hosting a top-ranked global podcast, speaking on stages worldwide, and stepping into her greatest role as a mother to her son, Coast. She believes that she was called by God to use her voice to build something greater than herself, and she's here to fulfill that mission. Oh, without further ado, Miss Cassandra, I'm so happy that you're here. Welcome to I Am with Jenna Phillips Ballard.
So stoked to be here. Thank you for that introduction.
Well, you know, there's just so much to explain you, to describe who you are. I mean, it's massive. You have accomplished so much in your life. And every single time we talk, you're like, oh yeah, I also did that. And. It's like the never ending and. And I'm like, yes, girl, because you really have created so much in your life. And what I witnessed in you now at this phase in your life, being a mom, I mean, you like just had a baby, not 2 seconds ago, but a handful of months ago, and you're managing this business, you're building this brand, you're living on purpose, you're a maniac on a mission, and I really, really want to unpack how you ultimately arrived at this place, because you have so many extraordinary stories. We could do a whole series on you, but I really, really want you to share what's on your heart and what brings you to this point in history.
Yeah. So let's start at the end and go backwards, because for anyone who's in a season of considering motherhood or maybe just stepped into it, it is the hardest thing I have ever done in my entire life as a competitive athlete, as someone who's built the multi-seven-figure businesses. It is hands down the hardest thing that I have ever done. And it is the best thing that I have ever done in the exact same breath. This season has stretched me in ways that I didn't even know that I was capable of, and really allowed me to step into a capacity of an entirely new version of me that I didn't know was in there. And it was really like the fire, aim, ready mentality of do it and you will become the person in the process. Like that's what stretches you. But started out as a competitive hockey player when I was 4 years old. Like I make the joke that I could skate better than I could walk growing up, and played a lot of boys hockey, which you can imagine as a woman stepping into locker rooms and stepping into those spaces that is traditionally a male dominated sport. Like there's an energy that comes with that. You heard a bit of my story, but I went through most of my life with a very dominant masculine energy, a very like, I'm gonna do it all by myself energy, because that's what I was conditioned to believe. It was hustle more, it was do more, it was be more. I was never in touch with my quote unquote feminine energy or feminine side, even though I started a beauty business when I was 19 years old. And so I've really learned how to, where the and comes from, like the heart behind it is embracing your multifaceted dimensions, like every part of who you are. You do not need to put yourself into a box to be one thing. There's so many versions of you that want to come out and play, but it's a matter of allowing them the voice and the platform to do that.
You're a superstar. I mean, I'm just imagining you as a 4-year-old getting on the ice and being developed as this athlete, because I mean, when I met you, I knew a little bit about you. I knew that you were founder of The Business Savage and a podcast, new mom, business owner. And so I knew those pieces about you. And then I learned that you also had a beauty salon. You were a makeup artist and you did that for your life. And then the next layer that I learned about you is that you were a professional. I mean, you were like a professional athlete. And that is something that you would never guess just by looking at you, because you are so feminine. You've really embodied this sense of mother. And this essence about who you are is that. And you're now speaking about the power of and. I mean, truthfully, because for you to be in that male dominant kind of world where it's you literally have to hustle to be successful. You've got to put in the work, you've got to put in the reps. So it's like having that kind of, and this is where you and I are so similar, is having that athletic background and learning that the hustle is what you get to do in order to become successful at that thing, and how it may have translated in other parts of our lives and business or whatever. But then this other aspect of you to really embody that feminine grace and that beauty. I really want you to speak into that, because there was obviously a transition. So from you going from one specific realm to the next, how did you make that jump? What was that like for you?
To start this, I'm going to actually say something that's super relevant. That was a conversation I literally just had with my husband, because this is like a journey that is ever evolving. I don't think it's actually a place that ever just like a light bulb goes off and all of a sudden you're there. It is a journey of giving yourself the grace and allowing yourself to continue to evolve. It's not something that just happened for me overnight. The woman in front of you today, still very much my like dominant is that masculine, right? We're female entrepreneurs. Like, let's be honest. There's going to be that drive. There's going to be that intensity. There's going to be that tenacity. But I was having a conversation with my husband a couple of days ago, and he literally was like, you need to give yourself more grace. And in this like, toughy energy, I'm like, what is grace? What is even grace? And he's like, Cassick, you need to give yourself more grace. You're doing so much and you're doing it all so well and you're holding so many things. And we started to have this conversation around what is grace. And he's like, you don't give yourself enough grace. Like, that is an invitation for you to still lean further into that, and like giving yourself permission to say, it's okay if I don't build today. Like, it's okay if I decide that I'm going to rest more today. But there was like one, kind of moment that cracked it open. Building in the sports industry. So I worked in professional sports. I worked for the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Toronto Raptors. And I remember this one conversation. My boss called me into the boardroom, and, we were all giving our creative ideas, and essentially the director of the department like shut down every single idea that I was putting forth. And I remember going back to my desk, and I'm sitting there, and there's a space heater underneath me, and I'm pulling this blanket up over my lap, and I'm watching the GO trains come in and out all day long. And I'm looking at my computer to try to book some time off. And it was like 0 days left for the year. 3 weeks holidays, $42,000 a year salary. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, this is not life. Like, this cannot be living. I want to create that number that I see on the front of my paycheck. And so I don't know what that looks like, but I know that I bet on myself, and I know that I'm going to figure it out. I'm probably going to fall down a lot, just as I did in hockey, just as I did when I was figuring out how to slap shot, just as I did when I was trying out for teams bigger than myself. But I trust that I'm going to figure it out. I trust that I'm going to catch myself. And so there was this inner calling to want to step into a whole different energy. And I just went like the furthest end of the pendulum swing that I could. And it was beauty. Like, let's embrace this feminine side of myself. Never considered myself a creative. And so I went to school to become a makeup artist. And lo and behold, I freaking loved it. And because when you're competitive, you're just like, I'm going to be the best at everything. I was good at it. I was really good at it. And so started building that business. Obviously it ended up turning into a brick and mortar storefront and a multi-7-figure business. We had a whole team underneath us. I ended up doing permanent makeup. So I've tattooed over 7,000 people's eyebrows and lip blush and all of the things, scalp pigmentation, bald men, you name it. And we had a massive reputation in the area for what we did. But there was still this like humming, this internal humming of, I'm not happy. Even though I had all of the external success, we've got the money, you've got all of the things, everyone around me is like, you're so inspiring. It's like, thank you, thank you, thank you. And there's still a quiet voice inside of me that's telling me like, you're not done. You haven't done all of the things. You're not happy. Like, something's not working here. And COVID was actually the best thing that ever happened to me, because the doors to the salon were shut for 9 months. And I was paying the staff, paying the rent, paying all of the things with zero income coming in. For 2 weeks, I drank a box of wine every single day. I smoked a shit ton of weed. I was so depressed and miserable, couldn't figure out what I was doing with my life. And then I said, I'm done, and I'm going to use my gifts to help. And I was listening to a podcast. A gentleman was talking about a coaching program. I came down to Austin, Texas, knowing absolutely nothing about the program or the people or any of the things. They put me on a mat to do breathwork. The hockey player who had no idea what breathwork was. And as I'm sitting there with my arms crossed thinking this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever done in my life, I had this realization. You heard me say this during my speech, where the facilitator came over to me and he said, Cassandra, you are wearing a bulletproof vest and nobody here has a gun. As long as you decide to keep wearing that vest, you will never have an experience. And so I left that really thinking like bulletproof fast, bulletproof fast, bulletproof fast. And then I could feel it. And it was almost like a movie. We see all these flashes of every way, every encounter in my life that made me wear this bulletproof vest and this intensity that I walked through life with, thinking that everything was out to get me. Everyone was out to get me. And I just had to do more and be more. And it was like this mask that I was wearing to hide myself from the world. From that point forward, again, it's been a journey and it's been a process. It wasn't overnight, but it was a curiosity and awareness of like, what would it feel like if I took off that vest? If I decided that I didn't want to be that anymore, and that was really exhausting and I'm really tired. Like, what would it look like if I decided to take that off? And so I have been in this never-ending pursuit ever since. And that's where the and really started, was understanding like, I don't have to be just that. I can also and be the other side. And that doesn't make me any less powerful. It actually makes me more powerful. And so that's why there's so much passion behind the and.
I was thinking about a lot of aspects about what you were saying, talking about this whole season. And what I get really curious about is where do you think the vest, the bulletproof vest came from? Because we're not born with that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's something that we experience in our life
Mm-hmm.
that has us start to armor up and
Totally.
feel like our worth and our value is going to be exemplified in our results and in the hustle.
Yeah.
I can absolutely relate to that, you know, and I'm just really curious about what your experience was, what your life experience was that had you pursue and chase and feel like that was the way to experience your worth and your value.
Two components from that. The first is, bless him, like the most incredible man in my life. We have a wonderful relationship, but my father wanted to be a professional hockey player his entire life. And so he pushed that and pursued that through me. And so there was an intensity that was put on me unknowingly from him. I have an older sister and a younger brother. Neither one of them have an athletic bone in their body. And he tried with all three of us. And I was the one who was the athlete. And so we spent every imaginable waking minute together playing hockey. And so very, very close. But also it was like, if you're not dead, get up, do more, be more, like, come on, Cass. Like, get up, just that all the time. And again, like in such a great way, like that taught me so many wonderful things. But that was just this like kind of whispering all the time of like, you can do more. And if I would let someone beat me in a race, my dad would pull me aside and he's like, you know, you're faster than her. Why'd you do that? And I was like, I don't know. I wanted to let her win the race or whatever. And he's like, no, you be first. You take the puck. You score the goals. And so it was just this energy all the time that I was built around. And then you get in the competitive nature of men and men saying, what's a girl doing on the ice? And I'm like, watch, move, let me show you. And so that just built. It built. And then the second component to that is, bless her, love her to death, but I watched my mother submit, is the word that I use, to a man who was the entrepreneur. He had all of the money. She stayed at home with the 3 kids. She literally would have holes in her shoes saying, hey, I need a new pair of shoes. And he'd take a look, let me see. No, you're fine. You can go a little bit longer. And so I say that all the time because it's such a potent memory that I have.
I'm sure it's burned in your DNA.
Of the ways that I say powerless. I say that she became powerless. Wonderful mother, wonderful cook, house was immaculate, clean, everything you could ever want and imagine. But she put all of her dreams on hold and literally would ask permission from my father for things, for everything. And that dynamic, which is a very deep story, but that dynamic, they shouldn't be together. They shouldn't have even gotten married. The way that he treated her, I remember this one conversation, this will be relevant. We were sitting at the table around the cottage. At the cottage, we have a lake house cabin in Canada. And we're sitting around the table, or all of us, my mom there, sister, brother. My dad treats my sister and I like princesses, like gold. And I was like, Dad, in front of everyone, because I'm the queen of the voice, I just say what I'm thinking. I don't understand why you treat Tam and I like we are just like the absolute loves of your life. But you treat her like she's the dirt on your shoe. I don't understand that. And he said, you guys are my blood. She's just the woman that brought you here. I will never forget that. And so that you carry all, okay, well, I can't rely on a man. Okay, well, I can see what this dynamic is and how that looks. And I can see how miserable she is. And she's an alcoholic and she drinks all the time and what this energy has created. And my brother's really depressed and a lot of suicidal thoughts. My sister's got extreme anxiety and I'm the athlete. I'm the tough one. I'm the one who can hold it all together. I'm the one who creates the businesses. I'm the one who will figure it all out. I'm the one he wants to leave the cottage to because he knows I'll figure it out. So that weight was always on me. And it's exhausting. to be the leader when an older sister and a younger brother and all of the things. And it was the almost like silent shirt that was put on me without me asking for it to be there that I wore my entire life. And it was that breathwork ceremony that really made me realize I don't want to wear this anymore, and I don't have to wear this anymore. And it's okay to ask for help. And that dynamic isn't healthy. And I don't need to seek that in my relationships, which I did for a long time, because that's what I saw and that's what I thought was normal and comfortable.
And you can't even help it though, because that's your only example. You have nothing to compare it to. So the people who are meant to be your heroes, your mother and your father, the people who are meant to take care of you and guide you and steward your leadership and steward your greatness, oftentimes they don't have those tools. I mean, you think about how lucky we are as people who are coming into this era of awareness and presence and emotional intelligence. We have so many tools available to us that really give us permission to be sovereign, to be leaders, to be responsible, to break generational trauma and chains. And I mean, that's what I see for you. It just what an incredible lineage that you are interrupting, and then creating this new lineage there that you're empowering, and you're going to be empowering your son about how he gets to be an incredible, loving, responsible, respectable, respectful man. And so I love that you're the steward of his greatness, because he's the sweetest little boy.
Yeah.
And I asked you that because it's so easy to think that that's just in our DNA. That's just who we are. But that's not necessarily the case. And of course, we pick up on the habits from our parents and even mannerisms without even realizing it. But we armor up as people, and we armor up as women, especially women who are successful. And I also really want to acknowledge that you don't make your masculine wrong. And I love that, because I do see this wave of feminine embodiment leaders, and not to make them wrong, it's just something that I'm noticing.
Totally.
That I'm present to how they became successful, which is primarily through their masculine, like the building and the hustling and the grinding, which obviously and to some extent really supported and served them. It's clearly not sustainable, as you know. But I think there's a value in really honoring both the masculine and the feminine, because we're always going to be going through different seasons. And so I love that you were able to really shift into that calling, because that was coming from somewhere. And something beyond your physical experience was calling for your attention, and you listened to that calling.
Totally. I mean, I think I would have ended up in the grave, if I'm being really honest with you. Right? Like, it was just unsustainable.
Yep.
But there is this switch from boss babe into like soft girl era, like to your point. And I talk about this a lot, because so many of us built in the boss babe. And at one point it was so wildly celebrated. Like, if you scroll back a year, you just see every reel and every video about like, I make my own money and all these types of things. And then you wonder why you're repelling men, right? That's a whole other conversation. And then they would swing this pendulum, and all of a sudden it was like soft girl era. And everybody's like, oh, like namaste, like I'm just going to peace and love and like build from my feminine. And it's like, bitch, you still need systems.
Totally.
Like, you need accountability. Like, that is going to be, which I talked about, like the puddle. Like, you need the walls of the riverbed. Like, you cannot build if you're just in that all the time. It's both and.
Well, what is it that you love the most about your masculine? What is it? How does it, because I think that's the thing is there's this interpretation of the masculine. It's unhealthy. It's all, but it's a really beautiful aspect of being a woman who's a leader. And so I want to hear from you. I know what I love about my masculine, but I want to hear from you what part about your masculine that you really appreciate and respect and love.
The way that I describe this, because someone's asked me this recently, and I tune in when I close my eyes and I can really see it, is like the feminine for me is like the peacock, which is like full of colors and colorful and like bright and creative. And then the masculine for me is the lion. And so like when I really think of it, it's almost like the lion and the lamb if we go back to like biblical times. But the lion, it is everything that I have created actually came from that. It's my drive. It's my tenacity. It's what keeps me going. It's like I love my masculine energy. I still kind of wrestle with the feminine and all of that stuff, but like my masculine is my driving force. Nothing gets created without the masculine. It systemizes me. It brings everything in. It tells me, okay, where are we going with this? How is this actually going to come to life? Because you're out here as a woman in la la land, like, I want to do all of these things and be so creative, but that doesn't come into execution without the actual tangible masculine. And so what comes to life in actual creation is because of the masculine. I prefer my masculine energy. Like, let's just be honest, it's still the driving force.
I playfully tease the super hyper feminine of, let me think about it for 2 weeks and back to you, maybe never. You know, I'm going to bathe my crystals in the moonlight and just like tap in and just check in with myself. But it really just provides an opportunity for women to I know. Let's go. Let's make a decision. Let's get it done. Let's be on time. Let's be our word. Let's have systematic structure so that we can get these things done. But it's also how I see the masculine really being at play with the feminine is like, if we're really in our feminine, then we're starting to delegate and we're starting to enroll people into our vision and ask for support. So we're not doing all the things.
That's where the voice comes in.
And then that's when we get to really be in our feminine and be in the magnetism and the trust and the allowance. And so I love, like, one of the things I love the most about you is that balance that you have. Like, you really, really embody this masculine energy, but from a place where it's celebrated and it does seem sustainable because you also really tap in your feminine too.
And one thing I'll just touch on there, and like, not to bash on anything, but like, I actually hate the word balance. And people will say this all the time. They'll say, I love how balanced you are. And like, you're such a good embodiment of both. And the reason why I don't like that word is because, to me, balance implies that one thing has to shrink in order for the other to exist. And so, like, really think about that, right? Like, with a scale of balance, like, one thing has to become smaller in order for the other to be bigger. Whereas I believe it's actually just integration. Like, I am both. I'm not a little bit more masculine, and then that means my feminine is less. They're both here at play equally in an integration of both all the time. And so when you're making thoughts or decisions or actions, it's from a place of both at the table, not leading with one and one's taking a back seat. And so that's kind of how I like to try to look at it.
I love that. And it's almost like it's supplemented. It's I think that's kind of what I am really tapping into that. It's you show up as really supplemented, that you can use both of them interchangeably when the masculine does need to be the one who's kind of leading the charge and making it happen. And then the feminine is like, I am going to sit back and relax and attract all of this magic that I've worked so hard for. So really playing with that is just, it's beautiful to witness you in that. Okay. And I really want to speak to the shift into motherhood, because obviously here you are in Austin. So were you pregnant already when you were here, or were you? Tell me about that. Tell me about that whole transition when you basically arrived in Austin. What that looked like.
So no, I wasn't. The first time that I came here was actually with a different partner. And that relationship ended up meeting John, which I'll tell the story super short because it's funny. He ran a business called Simple Savage Fitness, and I ran the business Savage. And so he slid into my DMs. I was back in Canada at the time, and he lived in Colorado, but he was exploring Austin. And so we connected over that and ended up meeting here when I was on a stage. He was front row when I was speaking and took me for coffee and an Orange Theory fitness workout. And here we are married. We were trying but not trying, if that makes sense. Weren't married yet, but knew that we wanted to be. And he flew up to Canada. It was his birthday weekend. A couple weeks later, found out we were pregnant, and we were driving through the Colorado mountains when we found out. And it was like instantly like fear and excitement and grief and joy and all of the things all at the exact same time when you see those two little lines on the pregnancy test, because I wasn't trying or planning, not trying, but also not super prepared for it. And so there was just about 1,000 thoughts that flashed through your brain of, how can I possibly hold both? Like, how am I actually going to be able to be a present, nurturing mother and a wildly successful, driven entrepreneur, and a wife who is loving and nurturing, and my relationship with my body? I'm a competitive athlete. Like, gotta do all of that stuff too, because that's a part of me. So there was just this conflicting voice of like, how am I going to hold it all? There's not enough time in the day. And so my pregnancy was a wild roller coaster of emotions, both physically in the body and emotionally.
Well, I bet. I mean, it's even if you weren't encountering all those fears, it's just an emotional roller coaster anyway, because all the hormones and everything. But and you spoke into this at the beginning of the episode, and I absolutely agree that being a mother is the hardest thing that anyone will ever encounter. There's so much, the old container must break in order for you to ultimately expand. And that's the never-ending question, is like, how am I going to be able to hold for all of this, and who do I get to be in order to make it all happen? But that's just, you just figure it out. You know, you literally just figure it out. So what's been the biggest thing for you as you've stepped into mother? And there's been a lot of transformation also, I mean, with our amazing friend Blair, which is so extraordinary and beautiful. I really want you to touch on that. What the transformation has been like for you. What has been the most transformational, being a mom and being a business owner and a wife and all the other things? Yeah,
I mean, there's the element of being able to expand your capacity and shock yourself, of course. But I think it's that, like, your purpose and your reason and your deep why is totally different. Before I was a mother, it was a lot of external validation and a lot of external things that I wanted. And now, like, there's this quiet knowing of doing enough that I don't need Instagram or social media to see to tell me that I'm a great mom or that I'm doing enough. It's a knowing that I have and a feeling that I have, and it's my relationship with my son. And so like one of the biggest shifts for me is like I used to seek and where I would allow people to have access to me or access to my time, how I structured my business differently. I went from low ticket offers to $150,000 offers selling. And that was an identity shift that had to change in me to say, how do I want to build on the other side? What is this going to look like? Who's going to have access to me? What is my time going to look like? And it can't be the same as right now, because what I'm doing right now is exhausting. And so I was able to have this whole identity shift and really like say goodbye to the previous version of Cassandra, because there's elements of her that are coming with, but this new version, she's different. She's completely different, and her priorities are different. And I think overall, like the largest component of that for me is I look at this beautiful little boy who looks up at me for just that moment. And if I've got my phone in my hand, or if I'm on my laptop trying to be a present working mother, he, for that split second, sees that. And when I think back to my childhood and the way that I was raised, I now have an opportunity to stop any of those generational curses or any of those generational traumas, so to speak, which I had a beautiful childhood. Like I told you, like probably the worst things, like everything was great. But when I really think about that, I have the choice now and the ability to change how he is raised and what he sees. I don't have to allow all of those things to pass through me. And so there's this awareness of it's so much bigger than me. You become so much less selfish, and it's so much about him and what's best for him and what I want him to see. And now I get to build for him. I get to build to know that he gets to see a mother who was wildly chasing her dreams and didn't stop and have to ask for shoes when she had holes in the bottom of them. She was still building and pursuing her dreams, and he gets to see that.
So profound that you touched on that, because of course you have this beautiful childhood that had its challenges, which is true for every child. But what I see you creating right now, and I think that the biggest shift for you has been in your priorities. Your priorities get completely reorganized, and you really just start to realize what you have time for, what you have energy for, which is not really a lot beyond what you're creating. I mean, raising a child is the most important job. It really is. And for you to be able to show your son that you will never put your dreams on the back burner, that you actually can create an experience where you're present with him, you're creating this environment in your house, in your household, which is really expansive and beautiful and nurturing, that you're really providing an opportunity for him to realize the kind of woman that he gets to attract if that's what he chooses in his life.
100%. And think about that. Like there is a point where my job is to allow him to leave the house and be self-sufficient and find an amazing partner in life. And he's going to look for a woman who replicates traits that I have. I get emotional thinking about that because I get to shape that in him. What a beautiful, beautiful gift of the partner that he's going to look for in his life, that he's going to look for the qualities that I have.
I mean, think about the standards he's going to have. Those are big shoes to fill, girl. But I love it. I love that you're a boy mom. And as a fellow boy mom, it's the most incredible, extraordinary love, and to be the woman that they experience first and foremost. It's just such an honor. And I'm watching who you're being ongoingly as you're balancing all of this. You're shifting, you're holding, you're building, you're expanding, and I'm curious what your biggest challenge is right now with everything that you're responsible for.
My biggest challenge is still finding myself making excuses, still finding myself saying that I don't have enough time, still not giving myself enough grace.
I really appreciate your honesty about that, because most women don't want to show those parts of themselves, and it's really giving other women permission to know that it's like we're always just figuring it out. We're always just trying to figure it out and finding the way to have it work for us while we're still co-creating with God to fulfill our mission. And I spoke into this in the beginning when I introduced you, that there's this bigger calling on your heart, because obviously once upon a time you were this athlete, and there was that drive and that flex of the muscle, the development of that muscle of resilience and being able to overcome things, which is an incredible muscle to have and something I'm sure you're grateful for. But then shifting into your feminine and then shifting into something else, it's like you keep listening to these taps, these inner whisperings, and here you are in Austin. So what are you most excited about right now?
Building the kingdom.
Tell me more about that.
Yeah. Coming so deeply back into my faith, which, long story, but my husband brought me back. So very, very, very deep relationship with God. It's the thing that is the most alive in my life right now. And I feel so called by him to help build his kingdom, like a true disciple. Like I'm here on earth, literally gave me the blessing of this voice, the platform that I have, the stages that I'm on, to be a light, to call more people back into the kingdom and show them what that actually looks like. And so I almost feel sometimes like I'm just outside of my body, like hovering above my body, and I get to view things with God's lens. Like I feel like I have this ability sometimes to view things from an entirely enlightened, different perspective. And I just feel like that's my job here, is to use this voice unselfishly to help more people awaken, to help more people reach their fullest potential, to help more people find Jesus Christ. And ultimately, when their time is up, they get to go through those gates and get to spend eternity with God in heaven, rather than the alternative.
And your messaging, I know that you've been very proudly acknowledging that shift, like you're really focusing on that.
Yeah.
When you made that decision, what were you seeing possible for the people that you were serving? Like you realize that you've got this platform, that you've been given this mission, this purpose, and this calling by God, and here you are living it. Yeah. So now, what do you see that? Like, if you're going to be serving people, specifically faith-based people, or bringing people into the world of having that connection to God in that way, where do you see them living their purpose, and how are you going to be serving them?
Yeah, I mean, it's not even that I just serve faith-based people. It's that I stand so firmly in my faith. Obviously, it tends to attract those people, but also it gives permission to other people and a curiosity to explore what that looks like. If you're super not faith-based, probably shouldn't work with me or be in my ecosystem, because I'm going to talk about it all the time, and it's probably going to offend you in some way, shape, or form. But I think that there's so much darkness. Like, there is so much darkness in the world. Okay, and all of the things going on. And I think that when people find Jesus Christ, there's a lot more lightness. And so I really feel called to help people bring that out in themselves. Like, we struggle and we battle with that devil and that angel on our shoulder all day, every single day. Imposter syndrome, the I'm not enough, the stuff that shows up in your relationships, the way you talk about your body. Like, I could name a million things that happen daily that is this like internal conflicting voice all day long. And if I can help people just listen to God just a little bit more, just like fall into kindness, fall into grace, fall into love just a little bit more, the world would be a lot better of a place. And so I just feel really called to help people step into that.
And starting with the way that they talk to themselves and the voice that they're listening to. It's because it's so easy to focus on the negative thoughts. And, people don't often say, "Not today, Satan." They start to actually listen to that, literally, and believe it.
Oh yeah, talk to it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I see you. I know exactly what you're trying to do. My prayer every single day is, God, take away all the ways that the devil's going to try to attack me, my life, my marriage, my faith, my baby, everything that he's going to try to attack me with today. God, I pray that you take that away from me. I pray that I have awareness over how he is in my life and trying to come after my life. And I pray that you give me the strength to continue to choose you.
Okay, so first of all, everybody rewind that and know that that's a tool that you can literally use. If somebody is having an experience like that, what's a tip? I mean, obviously they can literally rewind it and listen to your prayer that you say. It's just so automatic for you. But what's a really, really simple tool that people can start to use where they feel like they can't interrupt that inner dialogue, and they can't shut that conversation off? What's a really simple tool to shift that?
Yeah, I think when I kind of like try to go 5 steps back to where that started, it's the awareness over like, is this true? Like the first kind of question I ask myself is this true? Like, if it's true, if it's kind, if it's like of love, then it's of God. And if it's not, it's not. It's not of him. It's of the enemy. And, I can use so many examples in marriage when there's things happening where I say in that moment, like, this isn't of God. This isn't of my highest power. This is not of what he's calling for this marriage and this relationship. And right now the devil's in here and he's coming after me. He's coming after this marriage. He's coming after this relationship. He's coming after my thoughts. My ego's in the way. Like, I'm angry. I'm resentful. I'm saying things I don't mean. And so like just awareness and like, none of this is true. Like, kind little pure Cassandra when she was 4 years old didn't have this. And so like, if I tune back into that version of myself and I say, is this true? Are these feelings true? Like, is any of this true? It's almost like this download comes in of, this isn't God. This isn't how he operates. This isn't his highest calling for me. This isn't how he wants me to operate. And it's an attack. And they happen thousands of times a day. You get cut off in traffic and you want to flip somebody off. What do you think that was? And then you have a moment and you're like, I feel really bad for flipping that person off, right? You can't control your first thought, but you can control your second.
Yeah, and it's also being present too. If somebody flips us off in traffic, and instead of taking it personally, going like, man, they must be having a really rough day.
Totally.
And choosing that level of compassion and walking with Christ consciousness, because I think that's one of the most difficult things in the world right now. Like, speaking to what you talked about, how dark it is, and there's so much that's happening. It's really just all being revealed, and we're seeing it in a way that we never have before. It feels so overwhelming. We don't know what to do with all that energy. It's almost, it then creates a sense of apathy, where it's too much to even process. We don't even know what to do with it. So given that, let's say that you've got someone listening right now who is wanting to stretch beyond the current norm. There's something that's been tapping on them for a while. They're not quite sure what it is, or maybe they are. But what's some advice that you can give to them today in this world where a lot of people would say there's so much uncertainty, who knows how life is going to turn out? How would you invite them into that level of possibility where they get to really take action, because that inner dialogue's not coming from nowhere?
Because I'm so faith-based, my answer to this is always prayer. It's always prayer for me. That's where I talk through a lot of things. And as a voice coach, voice is not just how we communicate on a camera or on a stage. It's also the dialogue that you have with yourself and the level of radical truth that you're able to have with yourself. I get emotional thinking about this because you can show up on camera as the best version of yourself. You want to show your friends just this great polished version. You don't want to show like the real depths of the struggles going on in your brain. But when you get down on your hands and knees and you're sitting on that bed, God knows the truth. And so that's where this like radical truth can come out of me of like, God, I don't feel enough today. I lost 2 pounds, but it's just not enough. And I feel really bad that I think that it's not enough because I look better than most people at this point, but I still feel like it's not enough. God, can you help me with that? And I can talk through every thought that I'm having, every like icky feeling, every gross feeling, help take this away from me. And so for me, it's just always prayer, my ability to talk so openly and truthfully, like, you know, if you're lying to yourself. Other people may not know you may be a great liar. You may be able to lie your way through a lot of stuff or fake it till you make it. But at the end of the day, you get to look yourself in the mirror and you know if what you said and how you're showing up is true to you. So like acknowledge it. That's the masculine and the feminine. The masculine shows up and says, you're fine, you're great, everything's great. And the feminine says, hey, but I also want to be heard in this. Hey, I'm still having these feelings. So like, let's talk about it so that I can work through these. So I think to kind of distill all of that, it's just like a radical level of truth in your conversations with yourself first. And for me, that comes from prayer.
It's beautiful. I love that because people forget that they have access to that. It's a very simple tool. It's a simple practice. And people are always looking outside of themselves for something or somebody to fix, almost always. And they forget that they have this internal ability to connect to source in a way that just most people honestly just forget. Here's
how I look at that piece. When I get to the end of my life and I'm going one way or the other, which I know which way I'm going, but when I get to the end of my life, I know that the only person that's walked every second of that with me is God. And so I don't really care if Jenna likes me. I don't really care if someone on social media likes me. I don't really care if I got off that stage and nobody liked me. If I'm serving him and he liked it and I felt good in it, that is all that matters. Because these people come and go all day long. And yet we're giving so much of our life and of our time and of our energy to people who are passers in your life. Even if they're your parents and they're there forever, or kids that are there for long periods of time, ultimately when I leave, he's not coming with me. Maybe I'll hopefully see him one day, but I'm ultimately building this relationship with him and myself. So it's between me and him. And if it feels good and right between us, then that is the only permission that I need. It doesn't have to make sense to you or to anybody else. I don't need to justify it on social media, why I'm thinking what I'm thinking, doing what I'm doing, saying no, saying yes. It doesn't matter.
Think about how much energy people waste on
exhausting.
Trying to be liked by others and trying to appeal to other people who they'll never even meet. I mean, literal strangers on social media. That sounds like freedom for you to really have that relationship with God and know that that's the one main thing that you get to focus your energy on. It just creates so much more space for you to like really find out how you get to serve at a higher capacity. And with what you're creating right now, obviously you have your podcast. You've got, I want you to speak into the other offerings that you have and other ways that people can find you and stalk you and get immersed in your world because you have so much to provide. So many beautiful tips and ways that are digestible, really, really easy to understand, easy to follow steps to create their best life. And if You know, you do it with this sense of grace and style and class and effortlessness, and you really have paved a beautiful path for others to follow.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, social media is a great place to follow, to kind of tune into everything. I'm on a mission to stand on more stages this year. So if that feels right for whoever's listening, whether it's that they're running the event or they know someone, like that's where I'm feeling really called, can make more impact from bigger stages. So that would be the biggest thing. I have a massive offer coming at the end of the year, and all I can say is it's called Preach. Faith-based, using your voice. That's all I'm going to say right now. And so that's something I'm really, really, really excited about. And I don't have many offers other than that in terms of like actual coming into my ecosystem. I write newsletters. If people want to dive into the depths of my work, I've got a book coming out this year. I'm speaking on a lot of stages. So,
okay. So there's nothing that is standing in your way, girl, you know? So if you guys are listening right now, curious about who Cassandra is, just definitely look into her, find her, follow her. She's someone that I respect and appreciate so much, and really just find so much resonance in who she is and her leadership and her messaging. And you've provided so many beautiful tips today for our listeners to figure out how they can move through some of their biggest challenges, which ultimately, I believe, is that internal dialogue. You know, if people can overcome that internal dialogue, they can start to create absolute magic. And that's something that you live through, and you preach it and you embody it, and you really, really walk your talk. So I deeply respect you for that. And I'm just so incredibly happy that you're here. And what's your social media? What's the best way that people, we're going to have it in the show notes, of course. But, how can they find you?
Social media is at the Cassandra Britton. We just rebranded from the Business Savage. All in on the personal brand, baby.
That's right. This girl, I guess she's already a superstar, but the whole world gets to know who she is. I'm so glad that you were here today. I'm so happy that we got to share some of your story, because you've overcome some significant challenges, and what you're creating now and what you're stepping into now is something that really is providing permission for anybody, you know, to really embark on their next mission in life. And so, of course, the one question that we're always asking is, who am I and why am I here? And so I always ask my guests what their I am statement, if you could describe yourself, who are you? What is your I am?
My I am is different than how I describe myself. My I am is I am a child of God. That's my I am, but I describe myself as a savage. That's where the whole name of the brand came from. But it's the embodiment of resiliency. I think that every single person on this planet is meant for something extraordinary. Not great, not kind of great, but extraordinary. And I truly believe that no matter where you're at, what you've been through, where you're walking in life, you are called for something more. And it's a matter of you getting out of your own way and saying, why not me? And so a savage will get knocked down, but they'll always get back up.
You heard it. Listen to this woman, check her out, follow her, and of course, listen to this episode many more times. Take notes, because she shared some beautiful gems on this episode of I Am with Jenna Phillips Ballard. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys again next week.